Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up to the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi emplanes for Brasilia after attending the 17th BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro. The Prime Minister will be holding bilateral talks with President Lula da Silva on key areas of cooperation. BRICS leaders push for empowering the Global South, reforms and responsible AI. PM Modi urges for lead by example approach. He also says that for India, climate justice is not an option, it's a moral duty. And both Trump and Netanyahu express optimism of a ceasefire in Gaza as Netanyahu is set to visit the White House today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has left for Brasilia from Rio de Janeiro, where he will hold bilateral discussions with President Lula da Silva of Brazil. This will be on broadening the strategic partnership between the two countries in areas of mutual interest, including trade, defense, energy, space, technology, agriculture, health, and people-to-people linkages. Earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had addressed the session on environment, COP30 and global health at the BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro. And during his intervention, the Prime Minister stressed on strengthening shared efforts to make the planet healthy. In fact, the Prime Minister noted that for India, climate change and environment protection, they have always been subjects of the topmost priority. And this has always been a part of our culture, our ancient culture. And for India, in fact, climate change is not merely an issue of energy. It is about maintaining balance between life and nature. India is driven by the spirit of people, planet, and progress. And in fact, India has launched numerous initiatives. Among those missions are Mission Life, Lifestyle for the Environment. Then there is Ek Ped, Maa Ke Naam, the tree for mother, as we can see. Then the mega initiative of the International Solar Alliance to harness the power of the sun between the two tropics. And also a coalition for disaster resilient infrastructure, very important after the tsunamis. And then there's Green Hydrogen Mission. And there's the Global Biofuels Alliance, the International Big Cats Alliance. This is another big initiative of India to save the large cats. India is home, of course, to the largest number of wild tigers. Now, India was also the first country to achieve a Paris commitments ahead of schedule, despite being the fastest growing large economy. And for India, in fact, climate justice is not just an option, it's a moral duty, is what the Prime Minister said. Because India believes that without technology transfer and affordable financing for countries in need, in fact, climate action will remain confined merely to climate talks. Well, the health of the planet, the health of the people, they are both interconnected. In fact, COVID-19, the pandemic, had taught us that viruses do not arrive with visas, nor are solutions, in fact, chosen based on passports. That's what the Prime Minister said. Hence, he said, we have to strengthen our shared efforts to make our planet healthier. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with the President of Uruguay, Yamandu Orsi. This happened on the sidelines of the BRICS summit in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. The two leaders held discussions covering the full spectrum of bilateral relations. The key areas of discussion, they included strengthening bilateral trade and investment. And both sides expressed interest in the expansion of the India-Mercosur preferential trade agreement. in fact, aiming to unlock greater economic potential and trade complementarities. Now, Prime Minister had expressed gratitude also to President Orsi for the strong condemnation of the recent barbaric terror attack in Pahalgam, and he appreciated Uruguay's solidarity with India in the fight against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also held a meeting with the President of Bolivia, Luis Alberto Arce. This happened in Rio de Janeiro on the sidelines of the 17th BRICS summit. Now, the two leaders, what did? They reviewed the bilateral cooperation between the two countries, expressing satisfaction with the progress achieved. They've expressed satisfaction over the ongoing development cooperation between the two countries, including through the quick impact projects and capacity building initiatives under the ITEC scholarship programs. Prime Minister Modi expressed solidarity with the people of Bolivia in the wake of the severe flooding that occurred March-April 2025 in La Paz and several other parts of the country. He also congratulated Bolivia on joining the International Solar Alliance. Now, Prime Minister also conveyed his best wishes to the on the historic occasion, in fact, of Bolivia's 200 years of independence. A story that spans continents and cultures, a royal gift that changed the course of dairy farming in an entire country. DD India's Meghna Dev traces the legacy of Krishna the bull that bridged two nations, India and Brazil. Here's her story.
A unique initiative connects Bhavnagar in Gujarat to the distant land of Brazil. The Gir bull named Krishna was given to Brazil by the then Maharaja of Bhavnagar as a gift, which sowed seeds of white revolution, of dairy revolution in Latin America. What began as a royal gift in 1960 has now blossomed into a global partnership. In the land of Bhavnagar, Gujarat, a bull named Krishna embarked on a journey beyond borders 65 years ago. Gifted to Brazil in 1960 by the Maharaja of Bhavnagar to Celson Garcia Cid, a cattle baron, this bull was not just an animal but a symbol of India's cultural ethos. The bull belonging to the Gir breed is known for its resilience, high milk yield and spiritual significance, especially in the Vaishnavite tradition where cows are considered companions of Lord Krishna.
India gifted Gir and Kankrej, two breeds of cows, to Brazil, and since then Brazil has done tremendous development, tremendous scientific development to crossbreed and better these cows to produce more milk, and that is how we are talking about white revolution in Brazil.
It was the Maharaja of Bhavnagar, Maharaja Krishna Kumar Singh Ji Gohil, who was very kind to gift the Gir cattle, precisely a Gir bull, to the Brazilian gentleman we very fondly remember as Celso Garcia Cid. And it is this relation that has helped us maintain a very, very good relationship with the people of Brazil till today. One gift from Bhavnagar has helped Brazil in a tremendous way in terms of the income that they've made from the dairy and how well they've utilized it.
Brazil has been a consistent admirer of Indian indigenous cattle breeds. Over the years, the country has developed one of the largest Gir cattle populations outside India, originally imported from Gujarat. These cows now play a key role in Brazil's dairy industry.
My grandfather bought some cows from Maharaja and very good bulls too. And he brought Krishna to Brazil, but unfortunately Krishna died in 1961. But he left a very good son called Krishna Sakina. Now we have thousands of descendants of Krishna Sakina. We thank India for this magnificent gift.
From Bhavnagar to Brazil, this was the journey of a bull named Krishna. The gesture was more than diplomacy. It's a living emblem of India's philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is one family. Meghna Dev's report for DD India.
And taking to X, Prime Minister Modi shared a highlight video of his visit to Brazil. He described the Rio leg of the trip as very productive. During his visit to Rio, the Prime Minister had extensive deliberations at the BRICS summit. In his post on X, the Prime Minister complimented President Lula and the Brazilian government for their work during the BRICS presidency of Brazil in making the platform even more effective. He added that his bilateral meetings with various world leaders during the summit will further strengthen India's friendship with several countries. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi addressed the inaugural session on reform of global governance and peace and security, as well as a session on strengthening multilateral economic, financial affairs and artificial intelligence at the 17th BRICS Summit in Rio de Janeiro. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the Global South has many expectations from us, and to fulfill them, we must follow the principle of lead by example. He in fact underlined that terrorism was a grave threat facing humanity. The Prime Minister called for working towards responsible AI as well.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the inaugural session on reform of global governance in peace and security, as well as session on strengthening multilateral economic financial affairs and artificial intelligence at the 17th BRICS Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. In his address at the inaugural session on reform of global governance in peace and security, Prime Minister Modi reaffirmed India's commitment to enhancing the voice of the Global South. PM Modi stated that global governance institutions such as UN Security Council, the International Monetary Fund, World Bank, and the World Trade Organization must undergo urgent reform to reflect contemporary realities. Calling for strong global action against terrorism, Prime Minister Modi noted that those funding, promoting, or providing safe havens to terrorists must be dealt with in the harshest terms.
Honorable Prime Minister underlined that terrorism was a grave threat facing humanity. In this context, he noted that all the leaders have condemned Pahalgam terrorist attack in strongest terms.
While in his address at the session on strengthening multilateral economic financial affairs and artificial intelligence, Prime Minister Modi said that BRICS could play an important role in shaping a multipolar world. Prime Minister Modi offered 4 suggestions. First, BRICS New Development Bank must follow demand-driven principle and long-term sustainability for granting projects. 2. The group considers setting up a science and research repository which could benefit the Global South countries. 3. Focus must be given to make the supply chain of critical minerals secured and resilient. And number 4, group should work on responsible AI while looking into the concerns of AI governance. It should also give equal importance to promoting innovation in the field. At the conclusion of the leaders' session, member countries adopted the Rio de Janeiro Declaration. The leaders in the declaration noted that we reiterate our support for a comprehensive reform of the United Nations, including its Security Council, with a view to making it more democratic, representative, effective, and efficient. We condemn in the strongest terms the terrorist attack in Jammu and Kashmir on 22nd April 2025, during which 26 people were killed and many more injured. We reaffirm our commitment to combating terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, including the cross-border movement of terrorists, terrorism financing, and safe havens. We extend full support to India for its BRICS chairship in 2026 and holding the 18th BRICS Summit in India. On the sidelines of the 17th BRICS Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Prime Minister Modi also held bilateral meetings with various world leaders. PM Modi met the Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar bin Ibrahim. PM Modi thanked Prime Minister Ibrahim for his strong condemnation of the Pahalgam terror attack. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also met Cuba's President, Miguel Diaz-Canel Bermudez. The two leaders reviewed bilateral ties in the areas of economic cooperation, development partnership, fintech, capacity building, science and technology, disaster management, and healthcare. Besides this, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also met his Vietnamese counterpart Pham Minh Chinh on the sidelines of BRICS Summit in Brazil. Bureau Report, DD India.
And still to come here on DD India Live. Texas flash floods claim over 90 lives. Dozens are still missing as the search operations expand. A memorial service marks the 20th anniversary of the 7/7 bombings in London.
Welcome to Jaipur.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Mark Lynn. The US President Donald Trump announced 25% tariffs on imports from Japan and South Korea effective August 1st in letters shared on his Truth Social platform. He warned any retaliatory tariffs that would increases by those countries would be met with equivalent hikes. Currently, under a 10% levy, both nations risk higher rates amid stalled negotiations. Trump extended the original July 9 tariff deadline to allow more time for talks. Around a dozen other countries are expected to receive similar warnings, and these measures are part of the broader tariff campaign, which deals only reached so far with the UK and Vietnam have reached deals. The financial markets have reacted negatively, with the US-listed Japanese automaker stocks, they are falling. The European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said on Monday that the European Union must show strength in ongoing trade talks with the United States. Her comments, they come as von der Leyen is going to face a European Parliament no confidence vote on Thursday in the latest challenge to the European Commission President.
When the Commission sits down with the United States to negotiate on trade and tariffs, Europe must show strength. When we stand up for Ukraine's future, Europe must show strength. Or when we go to China to defend our interests, Europe must show strength. And this strength only comes through our unity. So let us come together. Let us keep delivering for Europe. Long live Europe.
President Trump's administration has revoked the foreign terrorist organization designation for Al-Nusra Front, also known as the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, according to a State Department memo filed on Monday. Now, this is a major step as Washington moves to ease sanctions on Syria. This move also comes a week after President Trump had signed an executive order terminating a U.S. sanctions program on Syria to help end the country's isolation from the international financial system, and also to build on Washington's pledge to help it rebuild after a devastating civil war. The U.S. envoy Thomas Barak met Lebanon's President Joseph Aoun. This happened at the presidential palace in Beirut. The U.S. envoy Barak, he said that he was satisfied with the Lebanese government's response to a proposal to disarm the militant Hezbollah group. He also said that Washington is ready to help the small crisis-hit nation emerge from its long-running political and economic crisis.
What the government gave us was something spectacular. In a very short period of time, in a very complicated manner, I'm unbelievably satisfied with the response. Now what it takes is a parry and thrust to the details, which we're going to do. We're both committed to get to the details and get a resolution. So I'm hopeful. I'm very, very hopeful.
A state of emergency in Texas as deadly flash floods leave a trail of devastation and heartbreak. Now, dozens are still missing, entire communities are underwater, and rescuers are working round the clock in a desperate race to save lives. Here's the report.
Rescuers are racing against time to locate dozens still missing, including children, after deadly flash floods swept through parts of Texas. The catastrophe has already claimed more than 80 lives. Authorities have warned of more heavy rains on the way.
There are dangers over the next 24 to 48 hours that could pose public safety threats to people in these regions. There is heavy rainfall that's already occurred, and there's more heavy rainfall that's expected that will lead to potential flash flooding broadly in these regions: the Big Country, Concho Valley, Central Texas, and once again, Kerrville.
Evacuations are in full swing, From military veterans to local volunteers, hundreds have joined hands in a desperate search for survivors, braving dangerous waters and debris-strewn streets.
It's gut-wrenching watching all of this happen. I mean, it happened so fast, and I wanted to come out sooner, but I also didn't want to be in the way of waiting for things to get done.
US President Donald Trump, meanwhile, announced he may visit the devastated region on Friday. The White House says his administration is in constant touch with Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
They did. I'll tell you, if you look at that, what a situation that all is, and that was really the Biden setup. That was not our setup, but I wouldn't blame Biden for it either. I would just say this is a 100-year catastrophe, and it's just so horrible to watch. Probably on Friday. We wanted to leave a little time. I would have done it today, but we'd just be in their way. Probably Friday.
In the face of nature's fury, Texas is showing the true strength of its spirited communities coming together, rescuers defying all odds, and a state of refusing to give up hope. As the search continues and more rains threatens, the fight to save lives goes on. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, they arrived at St. Paul's Cathedral for a national service of commemoration on the 20th anniversary of the July 7 London bombings. On the 7th of July 2005, 4 suicide bombers blew themselves up on London's public transport network during a busy morning commute. 52 people were killed, as well as the 4 bombers, during the attacks on 3 underground trains and 1 bus. From storms to volcanic eruption, natural disasters have brought life to a standstill across Asia, leading to evacuations and closure of businesses. Let's look at this report.
Natural disasters have been taking a toll across Asia as climate change makes the weather more and more unpredictable. Typhoon Dennis lashed southern Taiwan with heavy rains and strong winds in a rare hit to the island's densely populated west coast. Over 3,000 people have been evacuated due to the typhoon, which has triggered at least 10 landslides. The storm has also forced closure of businesses and schools. Buildings, including a temple, have been damaged. Taiwan is frequently struck by typhoons, but they generally land along the mountainous and sparsely populated east coast. Eastern China has also been on high alert due to the typhoon, with Coast Guard officers assisting fishermen in evacuation plans. Dozens of residents have evacuated remote islands in southern Japan that have been shaken by nearly 1,600 quakes in recent weeks. While no significant damage has been reported on the hardest hit Akoseki Island, the almost non-stop tremors since June 21st have created panic among locals. Experts believe an underwater volcano and flows of magma might be the cause. They have been unable to predict how long the tremors will continue. Situated on the Pacific Ring of Fire, Japan is one of the world's most earthquake-prone nations. In Indonesia, a volcano erupted just weeks after it caused dozens of flight cancellations to and from the popular resort island of Bali.
We all panicked because the eruption has been going on since earlier. It's really made us panic. And in my opinion, this is the biggest eruption so far.
Local officials have warned of hazardous debris flow from the volcano into nearby residential areas, which are also close to rivers. Indonesia has more than 120 active volcanoes. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app, which is available on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn from all of us here in Delhi. Thank you very much for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.